Oh, the 8th Ward race.
8th
Wow,
Ward.
Yeah.
Michelle Harris. Do you live in the 8th Ward? Or are you just curious about it?
Grew up there.
Okay, cool. 8th Ward. Well, Ben, actually, you just wrote something about the 8th Ward.
Funny you should mention the 8th Ward.
Yeah.
I'm trying to really try to
we'll go back in
restrain
time
myself.
here. Yeah.
When Ernie Banks died, I was reading, I'm a big Cub fan. I was reading all these articles, and I noticed that he had run for alderman in 1962, and I actually was only vaguely aware of that. So I spent the better part of a Sunday reading old clippings about the 8th Ward race. It's just such a phenomenal thing to think that, first of all, a baseball superstar would be living in a neighborhood of Chicago on the South Side. All right, that in itself is pretty wild. But that he would be interested, he could have somehow enough time to be the alderman, which is either, the attitude of toward our aldermen is perhaps different back then than it is today. The notion that you have to be around the clock, ready to every pot. Yeah, it was part of. So anyway, Ernie lost that race for a lot of reasons. One, he was running as a Republican.
I know. I think it's funny too. There
But
were actually Republicans then, and there were several in the city council, I believe, even as in 1963. And when that Mayor Daley ran for election that year, he had actually had a formidable challenge by the Republicans.
That is correct, by Ben Adamowski. But moving forward to this year, I think the 8th Ward race is a very important litmus test, if you will, because, follow me on this, Michelle Harris, who's the alderman of the 8th Ward, inherited Dick Mell's role as the Rules Committee chairman, and as such, her role is to make sure that key progressive legislation never makes it out of her committee to the floor where to be voted on, and one such piece of legislation is an elected school board legislation. So it's similar to what the Pat O'Connor argument. If you are for an elected school board, you should be concerned, at the very least, about whatever role Michelle Harris played in bottling up that legislation and making sure that it never came out for a vote. So the issue, as I could see it right now, is for Michelle Harris and Mayor Rahm to keep voters as far away from any kind of discussion about elected school board or her role in the bottling up of an elected school board, and keep them focused on something like Barack Obama's endorsement of Mayor Rahm, which is a whole other insanity that I haven't quite figured out yet. Why would he even bother Barack Obama to endorse Mayor Rahm? So I think that if Michelle Harris is forced into the runoff, and she gets like 6 opponents or 5 opponents, I can't remember how many. They were down to 2? There were 5. Okay, so we're down to 2.
You win elections here the old-fashioned way by eliminating all of your opponents.
Yeah. I believe all the opponents at one point or another have called me up, looking for coverage. So anyway, my point is, if they do make it to a runoff, I would take that almost like, that would be almost as much a celebration as making Rahm go into a runoff. Because I don't understand, like, if most of the people are for an elected school board and your alderman is the force that it's bottled up, and like, why would you vote to reelect your alderman? So
there you go.